Willemeana's lucky day. The island of Sodor was very proud to be owned by the United Kingdom, which was ruled by none other than Queen Elizabeth herself, and especially owned by the governor of Sodor, who goes on his private engine called King Arthur, who was named after a king, and who pulls his private coach called Helen. However, Helen was very nice and friendly, but King Arthur wasn't. He was very arrogant, boastful, and very rude. Until one day, King Arthur steamed into the station boasting as usual. He was feeling very impressed with himself. "Aren't I a splendid sight?" he boasted. "Oh, no, not him again." "Yes, me again," shouted King Arthur. "Now, aren't I a splendid sight?" They know, shouted Helen, "and you're invading their space. Shut up, you cattle truck," shouted King Arthur. Well, bless my funnel," said Douglas. He was feeling very shocked and annoyed with King Arthur's attitude. Later, King Arthur shunted Helen into a siding to be polished, and was puffing away to have a wash down. Moments later, Skarloey arrived with Willemeana at the same spot to have a rest when she met Helen. "Hello," said Helen. "You must be Skarloey, and you must be the governor's private coach," said Skarloey. "And this is my coach called Willemeana." "Nice to meet you, ma'am," said Skarloey. "Oh, just call me Helen," said Helen. Soon Skarloey, Willemeana, and Helen were having a friendly chat when they heard an engine's whistle. When King Arthur met Skarloey and Willemeana, he was very rude. Get that filthy cattle truck away from me," he said. They're not to be treated like dirt," shouted Helen. "They're very nice and kind." "Well, I'm nice and kind," said King Arthur crossly. "Well, these two are as kind as you," shouted Helen. "Well, they're not as splendid as we are," shouted King Arthur back. "Aren't they, Helen?" he said. Then Willemeana said something. "I wish I'd like to take the governor," she said. But when Arthur heard this, he began to laugh. "You take the governor on a cattle truck like you? You are useless," he said. "Heap of scrap. You're too old. And you're not better than the coaches on the other railway, which is my railway," laughed King Arthur. "No one speaks to my coach like that," said Skarloey crossly. "You'll see, or will I now?" said King Arthur. "Well, we'll have to see about it next time. Come along, Helen. Leave those losers to it," and he puffed away. But Helen was too shocked to hear what King Arthur said to the two, and this made Willemeana very sad. "Don't listen to him, Willemeana," said Skarloey. "He's so rude and unkind. Let's go home." And the two puffed away to go home. That night at the sheds, both Skarloey and Hank were all trying to cheer Willemeana up, but she was still feeling sad about what King Arthur said to her. "He's full of hot air, that's what," said Hank. "Nobody really likes him." He said, "He's a disgrace." "Agreed," said Skarloey. "Willemeana?" he asked. "The The Fat Controller has arranged more passengers to go and meet the governor tonight, he said. Would you like to come? Sure, said Wilhelmina, but she was unsure. Just then, Skarloey had a plan. Come on, Wilhelmina, he said. We're going to take the passengers around. And with that, the turntable was turned towards Wilhelmina. Skarloey backed up towards her and set to work at once. By the time the passengers were already delivered, Skarloey and Wilhelmina were enjoying the nice salty fresh air. It was cold and dark, but they weren't bothered, and soon it had managed to make Wilhelmina forget about what King Arthur said to him, and they were all enjoying their nice run. By the time they reached the station, Toby was already there with the extra passengers. Skarloey was disappointed that he didn't get to see the governor again. Just then he began losing patience. Bother, he said. I could have sworn he was coming here tonight, he thought. I wish I could pick the governor up tonight, said Wilhelmina sadly. Too bad, said Toby, feeling sorry for Wilhelmina. That nasty engine beat us to him. I was going to pick him up on Henrietta, and then he was there, throwing insults at us, he said. You're not the only one, said Skarloey sadly, and they both knew what was going to happen soon to King Arthur. The next morning, both Wilhelmina, Skarloey, and Hank were waiting for King Arthur. Hank had a passenger train to pull, but he couldn't take his passengers before King Arthur arrived. At last they heard his whistle. He's bound to throw insults at us, said Hank. If he flings insults at us, said Skarloey, let's all ignore him. Agreed, said Wilhelmina, and the three both agreed to shut their mouths. But by the time King Arthur arrived at the station, he was still in a bad mood. And couldn't say anything to anger himself, but to Helen herself. Why don't you just keep quiet, snapped King Arthur. You're ruining my image. I'm sorry, snapped Helen back. You keep blowing steam at me, she argued. That's enough, shouted the driver. We'll have to take this coach into a siding. Siding? Snapped King Arthur. It's for dirty trucks and scrap coaches, he complained. This will never do. But there was nothing that King Arthur could do. At last the engine's chance finally came. King Arthur had no other sidings to take Helen to, so when he noticed the sheds, he realised that the spot in front was empty. If you want to be in a siding, so be it, he said violently, and pushed Helen into the sheds, and then it happened. Ow! No one was hurt, but the shed was destroyed, and the governor was enraged with King Arthur. You stuck-up, blithering idiot! Now I'll have to have another transport, which means I'll be late, he said. But when he turned, he had his eyes fixed on Wilhelmina. You know, he said. He turned slowly and quietly towards her. I'll have a run on you for a change. Then Wilhelmina, Skarloey and Hank were shocked, especially King Arthur. "Come on, Mr. Narrow-Gauge Engine," he said to Skarloey. "I'll have a ride on you at once." "Thank you, sir," said Skarloey, and the turntable turned, and Skarloey was ready. "I declare that this is shut up," snapped the governor. "Take us for a ride at once." "Yes, sir," said Skarloey. He was coupled to Wilhelmina, and then the governor went on board Wilhelmina, and Skarloey steamed off to the station, leaving both poor King Arthur and Helen behind. At last the two were having a wonderful time. Wilhelmina had never felt so happy in her life, and neither did Skarloey. They were both so happy that they were able to take the governor a ride. By the time they reached the other station, the passengers crowded, and the police had to shoo them away. But Skarloey and Wilhelmina didn't mind. They were getting tired, and they both needed a rest. Evening came when Skarloey, Wilhelmina, and the government arrived back at the Northwestern Railway, and the sheds mended. He spoke kindly to the two. "You two have given me a splendid ride," he said. "I would love to do that again." "Maybe you can arrange that with the Fat Controller any day," said Hank. "Then yes, I will," said the governor, and he walked away. He soon found King Arthur, who was pulled out of the broken sheds. He had more words for him. "If it happens again," he said, I will be taking you to bits and turning you into a coal hopper." King Arthur was shocked. "Anyways," he said, quit the childish arrogance, or you'll really be in pieces." And if King Arthur didn't, I'm sure that would really happen, don't you? And when the three heard what he said, they all laughed and thought this was a very lucky day, and a very lucky night too.